All right. Okay, sorry. I'm so happy that you're talking about bullying in New York Comic-Con. We are cosplayers and we've experienced being bullied also. We were targeted in a cyber site. We were dressed as anime gal. Is that anime in Spanish?
Anime.
Yeah.
Okay, so anime. Oh God, I don't have my reading glasses on. Okay, in the cosplay community, people criticize the color. Okay, no. We were targeted in a cyber site. We were dressed anime, guri cosplay. All right, don't be judgmental. We were called Lucifer's daughters. In the cosplay community, the people criticize the color of your skin, weight, if you are short or tall. They make fun of your outfit. They don't see all the hard work you put in your cosplay, parentheses, craftsmanship. The cosplay world is for all ages and genders. I noticed the cosplay community, a female cosplayer, to be famous you have to show skin and skimpy outfits, not to be vulgar, titties and ass. To be a professional cosplayer, the skimpier the better. They don't see the hard work and the craftsmanship in your costume and props. Even your family criticizes and bully you. We know that happens to us. They think it's phase. Some parents, they think that cosplay is weird and they want their kids to be normal. Their normal is to go to bars and hang out. They don't see that in their room learning, that they're in their room learning to sew and making their own props. They don't see their talent. To be a cosplayer is hard work. Some people are shy and use cosplay to come out of their shell. Some people, they cosplay in which a person dresses up as a character of a different gender and they get bullied. I'm glad that we can teach them how to end bullying. Well, it's ambitious. I wish you all success in the world to keep making a difference. And then I asked if I could show their picture, and if you're interested, they have like this really cool steampunk costume. Anyway, I'm deeply proud of them. Here's the thing. Like the job, raise your hand if anything they said resonates with something that you've experienced, whether you felt judgment from your family, judgment at school or in your local community. Okay, hands down. Raise your hand if you have been targeted, been a target of cruelty, meanness, bullying, because, look around. All right, put your hands down. Because of your gender, because you were, all right, put your hands down. Because of your real or perceived sexual orientation. Put your hands down. I want to say that, they're in Puerto Rico, this is going on in this beautiful island. And it's happening in the island of New York, too, right? It happens everywhere. And it's been happening a long, long time. As a civil rights organization, we look at the dynamic of bullying in a different way, in a nuanced way. And there's a lot of ways to look at it, right? But we look at bullying as both motivated by identity. They're not cherry picking and being like they're gonna bully you, or they're gonna direct cruelty and meanness to you because you happen to be the hottest person in school. Some people say, well, that happens to me because I am the hottest person in school. But ultimately, cruelty can be in a lot of different ways. I heard cruelty when I was walking through the halls today. So I don't want us to look at the football team or to the people with athletic prowess, though we know as a society that is very valued, and creativity of this particular sort is undervalued or not understood. But we all want to say that cruelty crosses all communities. And then in your friendship circle, if you think about it, there is somebody there that perhaps is a little bit more cruel or mean than others. Now I'm going to share out myself.
I'm going to have to cut you off, actually, so we get to try.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Well, I'll wait to the questions, but I'm willing to share my aggressor story later.
Okay, let me get to Travis, because I want to make sure we get to everyone on our panel to share their expertise. Even though I could listen to you all day long, and I love what you're saying. It's just, maybe we should lobby ReadPub to give us a longer time slot for our panel, because this happens to us every time. That this should be a 90-minute panel, not a 50-minute.
Is there a panel after this one? Maybe we'll just stick around.
I'm happy to stick around. But we don't want to bully anyone out of their room. So I'm going to, at this point, oh so rudely after cutting off dear Ava, introduce Dr. Travis Langley, psychologist and author of Batman and Psychology, A Dark and Stormy Night. Travis has a similar background to Joe, where he was bullied. And with him, the bullying is something that he, to this day, doesn't often discuss, something that is still a source of angst and discomfort. And he has learned that one of the reasons that he likes to use fiction is it allows him a way to use stories to address real-life issues and real-life problems in a way that feels safe and in a way that's applicable and reaches a wider group of people. Can you talk with us about this idea of how you use fiction to reach real-life problems and to talk about things?
I mean, I've always been interested in fiction and heroes. And like Joe, my family was my safe zone. And for me, I mean, I was a happy little kid, but then I went to school and there were all these other people. And I was relentlessly teased and taunted. And for a number of different reasons. One, like being, the kid is going to be picked last on dodgeball, and that kind of thing. And what did it do with my name? It's like, your name's Travis, how do they make fun of that? I went by something else till I was 12. I'm Travis Jr., and at 12, it's like, I've had enough of no matter where I go, people are going to make fun of the name I was going by, and I said, okay, I'm Travis Jr. And it takes, you change your identity. When you have to reconsider something. And part of me is like, I'm giving in, but it's like, yeah, well, it's what happened. What do you wonder? It's, for me, I use fiction to, it's just fascinating. You love fiction, you love stories. Stories are fascinating. But in my teaching, I can use fiction to talk about some of the worst things in the world in ways that might turn somebody off if it's another topic. When I teach forensic psychology, I can talk about people who are being victimized or murdered, or crime victims and that sort of thing. And it kind of makes people repel a little and turn away from the subject matter. We go to this fiction and talk about what's happening in a story, and they don't turn away from it. So going through this filter of fiction, I can talk about some of the worst things in the world. I can talk about somebody who sees his parents killed before him in an alley in a fiction class, whereas in forensic psychology, I talk about real children who really have witnessed their parents' murders. It has happened, and we know some things about some of these kids and what happens with them. In the forensic psych class, that's a little rough. Every spring I teach a media-related class. 3 years ago it was Batman, 2 years ago it was Stan Lee heroes, and we can argue about Stan bullying artists. And
can you tell them what school you teach at so that everyone can attend?
I teach at Henderson State University in southern Arkansas in the middle of nothing but hills and trees.
But you can learn about Batman.
But the school is very supportive of using different ways of teaching. But I've discovered through the class, as I'd be talking about, it's like, okay, here's our example of what goes on with these characters. The students were the ones who would really latch onto some of the material about bullying and look at the Penguin and Scarecrow and some of these other villains and how they responded inappropriately to the bullies in their lives and became super bullies themselves. And I found out some very personal things. They're in this environment, this is a safe environment. You're in a class titled Batman, you know no topic is too nerdy to talk about it there. Or you might not talk about it somewhere else. It becomes, just the subject matter makes it a safe environment for some of the students to talk about things they went through. And even if they don't know what these other students went, they know, this is somebody who chose to have the word Batman on their transcripts. And it becomes a safe environment. And there's a documentary, Legends of the Night. Have any of you seen this documentary? Oh yeah. And there's going to be a screening of it, I think, tomorrow night here, about how Batman has inspired people in different ways. And my story's not one of the ones that's going to make you cry. Kai facing leukemia, Batman inspiring him to fight back on that, and Jill Pantozzi, like, those are the ones. But mine, how I'm using the fiction, we had the students, he interviewed a number of my students for the documentary, and one of them was talking about how when he was a kid, he was getting bullied. And as he'd go through getting these tattoos and the gauged ears, and he realized later on, he's kind of scaring people just for the sight of him. And he said the class got him, it became a point of reflection for him to look at himself. It's like, am I wearing a mask when I do the scary tattoos? You know, was this my way of dealing with having been bullied earlier in life? And he said the fiction got him to think about his own real life in a way that he never had before. You know, for me, I'm focusing on the heroes. I mean, I've got this Batman and psychology book where I've got features on the villains, and we'll talk about villains plenty. But the focus is, what does it take to build a hero? And you think about the moments in your life when you've seen somebody getting mistreated and you didn't stand up. I remember one incident in 8th grade, I saw a bunch of boys picking on a girl, and it nagged at me that I didn't stand up. I remember this other time I saw these people beating on a kid in a store, younger kids, and I said, "Stop that! That's not cool." And they stopped. Both of those are burned in my memory. One is a more pleasant memory than the other. It would be great for us all to build those better memories. The focus on anti-bullying is like the difference between the authoritative and authoritarian parent. The authoritarian parent who focuses on punishing what they don't want you to do without telling you what to do or reasons why. The authoritative parent focuses more on rewarding the better things and teaching you why on the good and the bad. And these anti-bullying programs, it's making some of that same mistake.
I would totally agree. I'm just going to tell you, we don't have a lot of time, but I really would like to open it up to at least 1 or 2 questions, because I know that you probably have hours worth of questions. And the panelists, you can ask of a specific panelist or the group. And we are all available if you need to reach us. If you have a specific question you want to ask that you didn't get to, you can find us on Twitter, at Anti-Bullying Co. You can come up to us afterwards.
Yeah, I'll be waiting outside.
Okay, great. I mean, find us so we can help answer what we don't have time to answer. So go ahead.
Take a minute when we say goodbye just to make sure we go down the row and say everybody's names again, because these guys have ongoing, really, really great gems of wisdom and fun.
And say our Twitter handles when we're going through here.
That.
That's often a good way to reach us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello? Hello?
Hi.
Hello. In high school, in senior year, I endured a lot of bullying by teachers, by few teachers, and it really hurt me so bad that I've gotten fear of authority figures, and because of that, whenever I would get a job, I would be really scared of the boss or anyone above me. And when I was in college, I was really scared of any professor I've ever had. And when I finally got accepted as a New York Comic-Con crew member, I was really happy. But a few days before that, I had a lot of panic attacks and anxiety coming into it. I'm doing fine right now, but how do you deal with this kind of stuff
So what you're experiencing, I'm going to give a comment to this because I wrote a chapter about this in my book. You have